gonna break these chains around.
United Nations report on the International Women's Day 2011 shows that there are over 245 million widows in the world, with over 115 million who live in poverty. Research shows that widowed women experience targeted rape, forced prostitution and marriage, property theft, eviction, social isolation, and physical abuse. About 1.5 million widows' children die before their 5th birthday, and older children of widows face horrors such as child marriage, illiteracy, forced labor, social isolation, and abuse. The Widow Support Center was founded by Professor Pat Utomi over 25 years ago. His interest in supporting widows was piqued after he wrote an article on the plight of widows in 1983. That led to supporting widows in a Kaduna Catholic Church parish on the recommendation of Bishop Matthew Azan Kuka. After a near-death experience in the well-documented auto accident of 1991, Professor Utomi realized that a situation he witnessed where a family who lost their benefactor went from a 5-bedroom house to homelessness could happen to any family. This solidified his vision of creating a world of empowered widows with dignity through building a network of contented widows through social welfare, mindset orientation, income generation, and advocacy.
Somebody that I knew very well, who was very successful corporate executive and businessman, suddenly succumbed to cancer. My own father had died of cancer while I was in graduate school, but it wasn't even my own direct experience that influenced my concern. Somebody else dying turned to his wife and said, look, you know, the way that our culture is, my brothers are already struggling for my possessions while I'm still alive because they know I'm dying, because I was dying from cancer. I just feel sorry what will happen when I'm gone, because I know they'll come and take away everything. Please don't struggle with these people. If they kill you, there'll be nobody left to take care of the children. I'm sorry I put you in this kind of position. I thought, no way, that kind of thing cannot be happening in this age. But true to his prediction, his brothers all moved in, took away everything, and this woman went from living in a 7-bedroom mansion to literally being homeless. I was struck by that. And when things strike me, my first reaction is to express myself about what has struck me. So I wrote an op-ed piece in National Concord, I think it was, in 1983 when this happened. And I used to have a very cynical neighbor. And this neighbor was hardly impressed about anything. When I wrote that piece in the National Concord, which was titled The Agony of the Nigerian Widow, this man, who is typically very cynical, looks at me that morning and said, you know, you write a lot of stuff, but this brought out the human being in you. Thank you for writing that. So being so amazed at the fact that that touched this kind of person led me to even more introspection about the challenge of widowhood in Nigeria.
This solidified his vision of creating a world of empowered widows with dignity through building a network of contented widows through social welfare, mindset orientation, income generation, and advocacy.
Looking at it from a scriptural perspective, there is something about widows. Widows, the Bible makes us to believe that God is their husband. And somehow, whenever you are helping widows, you are kind of drawing yourself close to God, because God sees you as someone that is favoring his own righteous cause. So I see it also as a very, very good step if anyone has to take that step. And I think it's something we have to look into as well. It will be a very, very wonderful idea if we begin to create centers where widows can be rehabilitated, because most times when you lose your loved one, there are certain things that happens to you. There are kind of traumas you go through, especially when you lost a breadwinner or you lose someone that has been your backbone. You know, some people might not really understand you. That's the reason why you see most widows just crack. Before you know it, they also die. There are some widows you see that cannot just bear the weight. At the end of the day, things just begins to happen that it's not supposed to happen. So we need a kind of rehabilitation for them, a place where they can enroll and come and meet people like them, and also see people that will also encourage them that look like them. Because whenever you meet people that have been through what you've been through, somehow, you know, this kind of thing, they say that misery enjoys company. When you see people that have been through what you've gone through and they are also kind of trying to live out of it, it kind of encourages you. So somehow we need a center where these people can come together and they are being talked out of whatever trauma they've been into. That's one. Besides, we also need kind of trying to create a welfare scheme for them where they can go and they will be interviewed. What kind of business do you really want to do? What do you really want to go into? And when it's seen that they really have an idea or something they can do that will make things better, and they have a very wonderful business plan, they can be assisted, kind of. They could be given grants that could help them subsidize whatever be the load they are carrying. I also feel again that talking about widows, I think Nigeria should come to a point when these women that have nobody to help them or cater for them with all the weights they have, because most of their husbands died while serving. Some of them died, some of them could have died in battles. Some of them could have died as policemen, like the incidents that happened, where I heard that the widow is now suffering. But this was a man that was doing his job, and armed robbers came and he fought them boldly, and before you know it, he was killed. So I think that it comes to a point where we can now begin to say, okay, for any man that died in active service who has a widow, your husband's salary should be going to you for at least for 15 years consistently, to ensure that these things are, to ensure that whatever the man left behind while serving, the woman can still take good care of it.
The month of December, which is a festive period in our part of the world, is set aside for the Season of Love program, to ensure that widows and their children do not feel left behind or weighed down by the absence of their father. This is achieved by enabling a lovely ambience in a party setting, where role models are invited to give words of exaltation amongst other activities like dancing, acting, and choir songs by the widows.
Addressing the challenge of widow and widowhood for me requires multidimensional approaches, in the sense that you need to look at the various issues within the context. Some are cultural, obviously, and more importantly, the whole issue of economic empowerment is also important. Why I believe that charity, provide for people, is fine, but for me, sustainable support for people, even those who are less privileged or deprived, like the widows, require assisting them, to enhance their capacity to sort of, work their way out of poverty. For us as a microfinance bank, we are more interested in the economic empowerment. What therefore is required is that institutions like ours should be able to come up with some products or services that tailor to meet their peculiar needs in terms of the structure of facilities and condition of facilities. That obviously would be a thing that we feel will have more impact, especially in terms of empowerment of these people. We do know that the large proportion of our client base is made up of widows. When you come across them, often I have engagement meeting with them. We do realize that we have a large number of them. And so that's in a way that we are already provided some form of support, especially the credit side to them. But what I'm saying in essence is for us to look deeply into their peculiar situation and their needs. And when that credit need assessment is carried out, we may be able to come up with very specific credit program for them.
While Patutomi Widows Support Center may not be able to root out major causes of widowhood like armed conflicts, war, and terrorist activities. We are more than ever committed in our work of empowering widows with dignity through social welfare, such as today's program, monthly seminar on a range of topics like healthy living, simple bookkeeping, advocacy and enlightenment on plights of widows, and in 2018, roll out Widows Entrepreneurship Training Program. WETP is designed to impact 1,000 widows across the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria with entrepreneurial skills, after which kits to start the business would be provided. This training will cover different areas such as arts and beads making, catering services, fashion design, adire production, bags, sandals and shoe making, waste poly recycling and nylon production, computer and printing, cosmetology, gelatin and makeup. This short video is a call to action for all. How will you help alleviate the suffering of widows?
When I'm back